multiple shops and warehouses. Then, almost overnight, the internet made it irrelevant. I had two choices: give up or adapt. You know me, I wasn't about to quit. So I threw myself into learning everything about making money online. And like most people today, I fell for the hype. I tried every method out there. And guess what? None of them were as easy as people said. But through trial and error, I cracked the code and rebuilt my businesses. But this time with the internet at the core of my strategy. Fast forward to today, and making money online isn't just important, it's an essential thing everyone should be doing. That's exactly why I'm making this video. I spent years testing, failing and refining, losing millions, making millions, and learning what actually works. Now with this knowledge, I can help you avoid all the mistakes and fast track your success. So if you're tired of false promises and ready to commit for the next 6 to 12 months and build something real, this is for you. No gimmicks, no BS, just the process that actually works. All right, so this is the online wealth wheel. And whether you realize it or not, you're already on it. There are three main stages that define where people are in their journey to making money online, plus a secret fourth stage that only a few ever reach. We'll discuss that one at the end. Let's kick things off with stage one. This is where everyone starts with no side hustle. And sadly, 55% of people never start at all. Inflation is making everything more expensive. And let's be real, relying on a single paycheck is more dangerous than ever. So if having a side hustle is essential, why do 55% of people still avoid it? Because the online space is a jungle. It's full of ads pushing proven methods that confuse more people than they actually help. The key to starting the right way is picking a method that suits your skills, budget and lifestyle. If you already have a skill like video editing, graphic design, coding, or even setting up Discord servers, people pay great money for these services and there's no shortage of demand. But what if you don't have a skill to sell, or quite simply don't want to deal with clients? That's where product-based businesses come in. One of the best options is selling products online without ever holding inventory yourself. But I'll get into this in more detail later on. That brings me on to running a failing side hustle. I'm classing a failing side hustle as earning less than $50 per month online. Sadly, 28% of people are trapped here. A lot of people aren't going to like me saying this, but it has to be said. It's almost never your side hustle that's flawed or doesn't work. You're most likely just not putting enough time and effort in. I know that can be hard to hear, but this isn't really your fault. It's down to something called shiny object syndrome. This is when you constantly jump from one trendy online money-making method to another without committing and putting your absolute all into any of them. One week it's drop shipping, then print on demand, then selling books on Amazon KDP, then trading stocks, and then starting a social media agency. The truth is, all the online money-making methods I just mentioned work, but each requires a different level of time commitment, and you'll never get anywhere by jumping from one to the other. It's like that classic diagram of miners tirelessly digging for gold, only to give up just before striking it rich. Instead of pushing through, they abandon their progress, start fresh somewhere else, and waste all that initial effort repeating the cycle over and over again. If you get stuck in this dangerous pattern like the 28% of other people, then you need to recognize it and simply pick a method and stick to it. Forget the idea of a perfect side hustle. Just pick one that's easy to start and has the potential to scale. If you don't have a high income skill to sell, then I'm going to make this super simple for you. In all my years of experience, the thing that has made me the most amount of money online is e-commerce. So I recommend you focus on that, but not in the way most people do. A lot of beginners assume starting an online store means dealing with inventory, suppliers, or complex setups, but that's not the case anymore. That's because you can now utilize AI-built Shopify stores. Instead of spending weeks setting everything up like I had to back in the day, you can now use a free tool called buildyourstore.ai to launch a fully automated store that would normally cost $200 to $300 to set up, but this does it for free in a matter of minutes. You just enter your name and email, pick a niche like fashion, tech or pets, and the AI chooses winning products, designs your store and makes it look professional from day one. If you want to go through this process completely for free, then just click the link in the description and it'll walk you through everything. From there, it syncs directly with Shopify, giving you exclusive access to a 3-month Shopify trial for only $1 per month. But what about making sales? Well, the biggest mistake people make with e-commerce is giving up too soon. Surprise, surprise. This is probably because they don't want to deal with inventory or fulfillment. That's why the free AI store builder also walks you through how to integrate a tool called AutoDS, which is kind of like the autopilot system on a plane. It imports trending products, updates pricing and images, and even ships orders directly to your customers. This means you don't have to touch inventory, package anything, or deal with supplier negotiations. You focus on driving traffic and making sales while the system handles the rest. Full disclosure, AutoDS are long-term supporters of this channel, but even if they weren't sponsoring this portion of the video, I'd still recommend them. You can easily create a buzz around your products by creating videos about them on TikTok for free. If you get 100k views and just 1% of the people go and buy your product for $10, then that's $10,000 in revenue. So if you're serious about breaking out of the failing side hustle trap, then choosing a simple automated model like this gives you the best chance at success. No more bouncing between business ideas, just commit, launch, and put in the work to scale it up. Stage 3 is running a successful side hustle. Believe it or not, only 16% of people who start making money online ever make more than $50 per month. The people in this percentile make anywhere from $51 on the low end all the way up to $10,000 a month. Of course, the higher end is what I'd consider actually successful. So what are these 16% of people doing differently, and how can you start applying it to yourself? Well, there's some clear things that I've noticed that separate the people who struggle from those who actually make money online. And to help you get there, I'm going to break them down into 4 key steps that you can follow. Step 1 is to stop trying to appeal to everyone. You might think casting a wide net will get you more sales, but in reality, it does the opposite. If you try to appeal to everyone, you'll appeal to no one. So before you even start promoting your store, grab a notepad or open your notes app and describe $1,000 per week. So today, I thought I'd walk you through each income stream, explain how I got started and rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. This video is going to create future millionaires because after watching it, you'll have all the information you need to build multiple income streams and escape the traditional 9 to 5 life. First is my retail stores where I sell remote control planes, helicopters, cars and more. Many young people believe the only way to start their own store is by launching an online one. Now, I can see why people might think this because there are lower startup costs, a global customer base, and you have the flexibility to run the business from anywhere you like. But just because online stores are easier to start, it doesn't mean that physical stores are outdated or unachievable. I mean, just look at the amount of physical locations the Sidemen are opening up, from fried chicken shops to clothing stores. But Mark, starting a retail store requires a lot of money. You're basically saying to become rich, you already have to be rich. Disliked and unsubscribed. I understand it might seem that way, but when I started my store, I had hardly any money. I'd recently resigned from my job and dropped out of school with no qualifications to fall back on. So I simply had to make it work. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was easy for me because it really wasn't. I remember on the opening day of my first model shop, I put a sleeping bag in the back of the van because unless I made enough money on the day, I couldn't even afford to fill my car with fuel to get home. So how did I manage to start a shop with barely no money to my name? Well, I got funding, which is something you can do too. I know it sounds a bit complicated, but I took 3 simple steps. Step 1 is to write a business plan. I identified the perfect location for a shop, how I was going to attract customers, how much money I needed, how I was going to allocate that money, and finally, how much money I thought I could make. Back in the day, this was about as far as I could go without professional help, but now you can go one step further and find a free business plan template online to make your plan look as professional as possible. Step 2 is to do some customer research. You have to find a cheap way to test out if your business will actually work. So many people come up with a business plan and get so carried away with it that they don't actually ever consider going out and asking their potential customers what they think. This step is all about going out into the real world and gathering actual data. Trust me, Doing this will save you so much money and potential headaches. You may even find you need to adapt your plan. I did this without even knowing it, as I worked in someone else's model shop on the weekend. This allowed me to talk to customers and find issues within the business that I could fix in mine. You can also walk around with a clipboard asking people's opinions, like they probably force you to do on school trips. But if you can get a part-time job in a similar business, then it can prove to be the best customer research opportunity ever. Step 3 is to get funding. I got my initial money in the form of a bank loan. It was very hard to secure, but I eventually got it by knocking on enough bank managers' doors until someone believed in me. Nowadays, there are so many alternative funding options available, such as crowdfunding. If you have a solid business idea, you can use platforms like Kickstarter to raise money by pitching your concept directly to potential customers. Right, time to rank this income stream out of 5 stars in my 3 core categories. Firstly, how much time does managing a retail store take? I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 stars because, I'm not going to lie, it takes a lot of your time at the start. However, with that being said, as time goes by, you can afford to take a step back, especially when you start scaling it by hiring staff and implementing systems that can run whilst you're not there. Now I probably spend less than a couple of hours a week actually in this store. Secondly, how much money do you need? I'm going to rate this 4 out of 5 stars because although the initial stage of, how do I get the money is tricky to overcome, you don't have to do it all alone. And there are so many investors, loans and crowdfunding methods that can get you there, especially if they see the potential in your business. Thirdly, how easy is it to make $100 per week? You know what? For this one, I'm going to say 5 out of 5 stars. If you're really passionate about what you're selling and you know the ins and outs of the niche, then you'll sell. To be a top seller, you have to make the customer buy into not just the products, but into you. Second is my own brand and product range, which I manufacture in China and distribute all over the world. When I was younger, the idea of seeing my own products on the shelves of other shops seemed just like a dream. I would sit in school staring at my drawings of model aeroplane designs, thinking, how can I make this happen? I always thought you had to have millions of dollars, niche connections, or a huge team behind you to make it a reality. I was wrong. Little did I know, years later, I'll be sat clutching onto my designs I drew as a kid on a plane heading to China. So how did I go from a kid with a dream on a piece of paper to a successful brand owner? Well, I took 3 key steps that you can replicate to get started with your own brand. Step 1 is picking a niche. Back in my day, model aeroplanes were all the rage. If people weren't watching the latest competitions or going crazy for new designs, they were busy collecting kits and accessories to customize their own. It had what's known now as a cult following. You need to identify a popular niche with lasting appeal, not just a fleeting fad. I'd personally start by following Instagram pages and joining in on the conversations. You need to know what the people in this niche are passionate about. Also try to understand their challenges to use to your advantage. Step 2. Keep an eye on trends. Take a brand like Represent, for example. I mean, it just got so popular out of nowhere and ended up on everyone's Christmas list. They recognized the growing trend for oversized clothing within the fashion industry and quickly capitalized on it with their oversized hoodies and tracksuit sets. This is where they really made a name for themselves. It's interesting because if you look at them now, they're moving more towards fitness gear with their 24/7 range because they're following new and rising trends. Here in the UK, fitness has become so popular with 74% of people owning fitness products. I mean, even the nightclubs are shutting because young people aren't drinking as much. It's clear that Represent have spotted this trend and created a new clothing range to meet the demand. You should aim to do the same in your chosen niche. Step 3 is creating a culture. If you can build a real community around your products, that is the secret sauce. It's not just about selling stuff anymore. People feel like they want to be part of something bigger. This way your brand sticks around because customers are all in, not just for what you're selling, but for the whole vibe. My son Curtis recently participated in the Super 10K Spartan race, which was filled with obstacles like monkey bars, rope climbs, and even swimming through icy water. It's become more than just a race. It's now become a movement where people go to test their limits and meet like-minded individuals. They've built a genuine community with around 1.5 million people participating last year. There's even been a wedding ceremony on the start line with the whole wedding party completing the course. So maybe have a think about how you can do this too in your own niche. Now, onto the rankings. Firstly, how much time does creating your own brand take? I'd say a 2 out of 5 for this one because you're going to have to put in the work. You'll have to post online consistently to build the audience, keep up to date with research, and also keep up to date with trends so you can ride with them instead of drowning in them. Secondly, how much money do you need? I'd give this one a 3 out of 5 because you do need some initial capital, but once sales start rolling in, growth can happen quickly and you can then reinvest that money to fuel further expansion. Thirdly, how easy is it to make $100 per week? I'd rate this 4 out of 5 stars if you've completed steps 1 and 2, and 5 out of 5 if you've achieved all 3. Once you've built hype and people are talking about your brand on social media, there's no reason you can't easily make $100 per week. Third is my eBay store, where I buy stock from failing shops and sell it online. Not to toot my own horn, but I made quite a name for myself in the model industry, and people started asking me to help them with their failing businesses. With all my experience and knowledge, I thought to myself, why not? Before I knew it, it became a side hustle. I remember the first time I visited a struggling store and offered them a lump sum in exchange for their stock. I then listed the items on eBay in my spare time, and I was completely shocked by the results. I managed to triple my money, so I just kept going and bought lots more failing businesses. Before long, I ended up with this warehouse full of gear behind me. Now my team just lists these items on eBay for me. It's become a huge part of my business, and I never imagined my little side hustle could transform into something as big as this. I know what you're thinking, but Mark, I don't have enough money to just buy failing businesses. How can I do this too? Well, here's my best advice for getting started with eBay. Step 1 is to identify businesses run by older people. The world has changed a lot and the traditional methods aren't as effective anymore. That's just how the world is. It just keeps on changing and you've got to change with it if you want to stay on top. Unfortunately, some older business owners are just left in the dust. This is where you come in. Step 2 is to approach these older owners and ask if you can try and offload the stock they can't sell, then list and sell it on eBay in exchange for a commission. This way, they get rid of their dead stock and you can earn some extra cash. It's a win-win. Over time, you'll be able to build up profits, and this is where the game changes. Step 3 is to use your profits to start buying directly from your own supplier. This is a huge turning point because you'll be in control of the products you offer, the pricing, and the customer experience. This gives you far more flexibility for profits and enables you to build up a strong reputation as a seller. This is crucial for scaling this side hustle into a real business. Okay, once again, it's time to rank it in my categories. Firstly, how much time does running an eBay shop take? Well, I'd say this is a 3 out of 5, if not a 4, because you don't need to come up with any of the products or designs. You're simply selling someone else's stock. If you've got things running smoothly, then there's no reason why you can't be selling in your sleep. Secondly, how much money do you need? I'm going to rate this a 5 out of 5 because you can actually get started with $0, especially if you're selling stuff for a commission like I recommended. It's really accessible and a great way to get stuck into business and learn on the go. Thirdly, how easy is it to make $100 per week? I'm going to rate this a 5 out of 5 because all you have to do is sell 50 items with a $2 profit on each and boom, you've made an extra $100 that week. Fourth is the stock market, where I invest my money and let it grow over time. I'm no financial advisor, but in my humble opinion, this is something everyone should be doing because without investing, your money is losing value due to inflation. Over the last 60 years, this averages out to be a loss of 3.8% per year. So if your money isn't growing by more than this on its own, then you're getting poorer by the second. In a perfect world, you'd have a savings account that provides an average return of 8 to 10% every year, so that you can both beat inflation and earn some profit. Unfortunately, such savings accounts don't exist. However, you can achieve returns like this by investing in the stock market. A stock is a small part of a company, and when you buy it, you become a shareholder. When you're a shareholder, there are 2 ways you can make money. The first way is if the price of the stock goes up during the time you own it. Then you can sell it for more than you paid. The second way is receiving dividends. Dividends are regular payments to shareholders. Now, not all stocks pay dividends, but if they do, this means you can receive money without ever selling your stock. You can start investing from your phone. My son has actually been investing £5 a day for over a year now on the Trading 212 app instead of buying a morning Starbucks coffee. It's a bit of an experiment, and as you can see, that small investment is now worth £1,783, which is a profit of £276 or $359 for all my American subscribers. That's a return of over 18%. Of course, past results are no guarantee of future returns, but that's not bad for a little experiment. To set something like this up, all you have to do is select pies and then click the plus button. Now you can select whatever stocks you want to include in your pie. For this demonstration, let's just pick the same investment as my son, this S&P 500 index fund. Now, let's tap add to pie and then the arrow button. Right, tap next and then auto invest. This value projection is really awesome as it shows you how much money you could make based on the historical averages. Of course, when you invest, you can get back less than you invested, as investments can rise and fall, but it's still a great way to get an idea of how much you could make based on data-backed projections. I mean, say we invested £250 per month for 31 years. This says that you'll have only invested £94,250 and your portfolio could be worth £2.19 million. And if we expand this to 40 years, that could give you a portfolio worth of £8.63 million. That's over $10 million. Now, let's rank this income stream out of 5 stars in my 3 core categories. Firstly, how much time does investing take? I'd rate this 5 stars out of 5, as all you have to do is download an investing app such as Trading 212, deposit some money and start investing. Since I was planning to talk about Trading 212 anyway, I reached out to them to see if they'd be interested in sponsoring this portion of the video. They agreed and are offering a free stock worth up to £100 to anyone that uses the code Tilbury when they sign up and fund their account with as little as £1 or €1. Plus you can get more free shares by inviting your friends. Both of you will get a free share as long as they fund their account. Also, don't worry if you've opened an account in the last 10 days. You can still use the promo code Tilbury in the app and receive your free share. Secondly, how much money do you need? I'd rate this a 5 stars out of 5 again. As I've shown with my son's experiment, you can start with as little as the price of a Starbucks coffee a day or even less. Because of the way compound interest works, it's much better to get started sooner rather than later, so that time is on your side, even if you can only put aside a little bit every month. Thirdly, how easy is it to make $100 per week? This will have to be a 2.5 out of 5 because it's very challenging to make this kind of money at the start. As you can see by this graph, net worth really starts to accelerate after the first 100k. For me, making $100 a week from investments is now the easiest thing in the world. So who knows, by the time you reach my age, you could be making far more than $100 a day through investing. Fifth is my residential real estate. I rent these out to families. When I was younger, I wanted to build an income source that would constantly bring in money even if I decided to stop working. So I did some research and that's when I bought my first residential rental property. It's actually this one and it's in an up and coming area with great transport links to London and good local schools. But the truth is, I regretted the investment as soon as I bought it. The reality was, it needed a lot more fixing up than I'd initially thought, and I just tied up a big amount of my money. But I was committed now and I needed to make it work. So I spent every free moment down at the house fixing everything myself to save costs. Now looking back, this was hands down one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's over doubled in value and along with my other properties has given me a steady income for years. Look, I'm not going to lie, getting into real estate usually takes a big chunk of change to start, but there is a good way to get started without actually buying any property yourself. It's called deal sourcing. This involves you sitting at a computer, finding deals, and then sending them on to real estate investors like me and receiving a commission. I'm always on the lookout for great deals, and so are thousands of other real estate investors. So here are the 3 simple steps you can take right now to start this. Step 1, educate yourself. Learn about the local real estate market, property values, and investment strategies. Become obsessed, watch videos, and read plenty of books. Step 2, build a network. Connect with real estate agents, property managers, and other investors. Attend local real estate meetups and join online forums to expand your connections. Step 3, start finding deals. Look for undervalued properties or motivated sellers through online listings, auctions, or by driving around neighbourhoods. When you find a good deal, present it to investors in your network for a finder's fee. Even if you don't plan to deal source forever, this experience will prove invaluable when you eventually become a real estate investor yourself. You'll already possess all the necessary knowledge. In my view, it's a win-win situation. You're learning and earning at the same time. So it's time to rank this income stream. Firstly, how much time does residential real estate take? This is a 3 out of 5, as it does take time to find good deals, and if you're the investor, you might need to put in some work to fix up the property at the beginning. Secondly, how much money do you need? If you're deal sourcing, then this is a 5 out of 5 stars, as you don't need any money to get started. However, if you're investing, then you'll need a significant amount of money to buy the property and also maintain it. Take it from me, being a landlord isn't always easy. I remember when I dealt with all my properties personally, I'd get called up for the craziest of things. Once I even found myself fixing a roof tile during a major storm. And thirdly, how easy is it to make $100 per week? This is a 5 out of 5, as it's relatively easy to make $100 a week. If you're deal sourcing, once you've learnt the ropes, just one finder's fee can earn you thousands in commissions. For investors, you can generate income from both rental payments and property value appreciation. Sixth is my commercial real estate. I rent these warehouses to different businesses. This one is just about to go on the market. This is something I explored later in life after I'd invested in the stock market and residential real estate, and I recommend you do the same. I was interested in boosting my cash flow, and you can typically earn more per month rented to businesses rather than families. However, my warehouses are unlikely to increase in value at the same rate as my residential properties. I'm going to keep this one short and skip to the ratings. First, how much time does commercial real estate take? I'll give this a 3 out of 5 stars. Honestly, it can be relatively hands-off once you've got the tenants in place. However, setting it up does take time, from finding good warehouse space to making sure it's ready to lease out. Once you're up and running, it only really requires you to manage the tenant relationship. Secondly, how much money do you need? This is a 1 out of 5 stars, as commercial real estate isn't cheap and upfront costs can be high. However, financing options and partnerships are often available for this kind of investment if you're not ready to put in all the money yourself. And thirdly, how easy is it to make $100 per week? This is a 4 out of 5 stars, as the potential is definitely there, with most commercial leases bringing in well above $100 per week, once leased early enough to become a millionaire. On that note, about a month ago, I gave Laura $1,000 to invest however she liked. She'd never done anything like this before, and you guys loved it so much that you've been asking for an update. So, here it is. Firstly, we discussed how to overcome the fear of investing, because it's all about getting started.
Not really for me. I don't really know much about it. Bit risky.
Next, we'll be revealing how much money she made.
So I put £240 in, and it's now worth.
And finally, unpacking her plans for the future.
Not many girls, I feel like, are investing into it. I kind of like to be there and go, nope, we can do it as well.
Watching this video all the way through will put you in the best position when it comes to making money from investing, as we're going to be showcasing real results with realistic amounts of money. So make sure to smash that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm, and we'll get started straight away. Hi Laura, how are you?
Hi, good, thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. You know what, it's been a couple of months since we started this investing journey.
That's gone so quickly.
It certainly has. So what I really want to know is, what did you actually think about investing, and what are your thoughts on it?
So before I kind of started, I was a bit apprehensive about it, didn't know much about it at all. But the best way to start learning more and more and become really invested in the whole investment process is to actually start. So that was great that you gave me the ability to start doing that. I think it's just the unknown, and the whole link, it kind of seems a bit like gambling. I think you have to just kind of build the trust in it and learn for yourself, and know that if you invest and you lose some, then that's you can live with that.
So it's more of a misunderstanding, isn't it? And probably because it's not been taught in schools to give people the confidence to go ahead and to do it. And what about your friends as well? Because that's another key thing, isn't it? So have you spoken to any of your friends about the investing?
I have a little bit. I know I mainly spoke to my brother about it, and I was trying to get him to sign up with a free share, and then it's just the signing up process for him.
Yeah.
So once he signed up, I think it'll be fine. And I was going, look, Mark and Curtis do this, it's absolutely fine. But it's just building that trust. And I think as he sees whether my investments have done well and things like that, I think he's just keeping a little sneaky eye on mine, and then he might do it himself as well.
Yeah, I think that's always a bit of a shame to look at it that way, from the way he's looking at your investments and only going to go into them if they go up. I think people need to look at them as a very long-term thing that you're putting money into over a period of time. So maybe you can give them a nudge and say, look, don't wait, because there's no time in the market. It's time in the market that you need. You've got to stay in there.
You've also actually just reminded me of something he said the other day. He said whether he was a bit too late to the Tesla. So I don't know whether, because there's so many stories about people having shares and coins and things, and then it goes up exponentially, and then they wonder whether it's going to plateau or go down from here.
Well, that's the whole thing about time in the market. Nobody really knows where the market's going to physically go. Now, if you take Tesla as a prime example, if I said to you Tesla's going to be $2,500 this time next year, would it be too late to invest? No, exactly. So, we don't know where it's going to go, and trying to time that market will mean you'll never actually get in, because the excuse to get in will be, oh, the market's too high, and the other excuse will be, oh, it's falling, I don't want to get in while it's falling. So there's always an excuse not to invest, and that generally stems around people trying to time the market. So I think you might need to have a word with him.
I will. I feel bad now. Sorry, Michael.
So you mentioned a free stock there, and that's a really good way to get started. And we've partnered up with public.com in the USA, who are actually offering you a free stock worth all the way up to $1,000 when you sign up. And if you're in the UK, you can sign up to Free Trade, and they're offering a free stock worth all the way up to £200. It's basically free money, and I'll leave the links in the description below if you're interested in getting started. Let's talk about stocks. Can you remind us all, because we all want to know, what stocks you bought?
Yes, so I bought Tesla and an S&P 500.
Okay, so how are they performing?
They're actually doing really well. I feel like there's been a little boom in the market at the moment. So,
okay, well, remind us how much you invested, first of all, in each stock, and then we can see where it's gone from there.
Okay, so in Tesla, I put £200, and it's now worth £341.82p.
Wow.
So the gain is £141.82, which is in dollars 190.
That is unbelievable, isn't it?
I know, it's crazy.
And how much work did you actually need to do to generate that money?
Absolutely nothing, apart from checking every now and then, because I got so excited, and it goes up and down, and then it just kind of went up.
And that's really because they've come to an agreement with Hertz to supply them 100,000 electric vehicles, and that's the equivalent of a $4.2 billion deal. Not only that, in Europe over the last 3 months, Tesla Model 3 is the best selling car. Not the best selling electric car, the best selling car, period. So, what great news when you've got shares in Tesla.
Yeah, definitely. I can kind of tell as I'm driving on the roads, I see more and more Teslas pop up everywhere. So,
well, it used to be a rare sight, didn't it? I remember when I first suggested to Curtis that we get a Tesla, that it was like, well, no one's driving them. You never see any of them about. They can't be that popular. And we really did look, you only saw them now and again. Now they are literally everywhere, aren't they? And they've got a good charging network. That's all I can say. That certainly helps the Tesla brand, because you can charge up quickly, and it just works. We're really happy with ours, and it seems that it's the growing thing.
Yeah, definitely. And the kind of move in the future to all electric cars, I know that's kind of been pushed back again recently, but yeah.
And that gain is in a 2-month period as well.
Multiple shops and warehouses. Then, almost overnight, the internet made it irrelevant. I had 2 choices: give up or adapt. You know me, I wasn't about to quit. So I threw myself into learning everything about making money online. And like most people today, I fell for the hype. I tried every method out there. And guess what? None of them were as easy as people said. But through trial and error, I cracked the code and rebuilt my businesses. But this time with the internet at the core of my strategy. Fast forward to today, and making money online isn't just important, it's an essential thing everyone should be doing. That's exactly why I'm making this video. I spent years testing, failing and refining, losing millions, making millions and learning what actually works. Now with this knowledge, I can help you avoid all the mistakes and fast track your success. So if you're tired of false promises and ready to commit for the next 6 to 12 months and build something real, this is for you. No gimmicks, no BS, just the process that actually works. All right, so this is the online wealth wheel. And whether you realize it or not, you're already on it. There are 3 main stages that define where people are in their journey to making money online, plus a secret 4th stage that only a few ever reach. We'll discuss that one at the end. Let's kick things off with stage 1. This is where everyone starts with no side hustle. And sadly, 55% of people never start at all. Inflation is making everything more expensive. And let's be real, relying on a single paycheck is more dangerous than ever. So if having a side hustle is essential, why do 55% of people still avoid it? Because the online space is a jungle. It's full of ads pushing proven methods that confuse more people than they actually help. The key to starting the right way is picking a method that suits your skills, budget and lifestyle. If you already have a skill like video editing, graphic design, coding, or even setting up Discord servers, people pay great money for these services and there's no shortage of demand. But what if you don't have a skill to sell, or quite simply don't want to deal with clients? That's where product-based businesses come in. One of the best options is selling products online without ever holding inventory yourself. But I'll get into this in more detail later on. That brings me on to running a failing side hustle. I'm classing a failing side hustle as earning less than $50 per month online. Sadly, 28% of people are trapped here. A lot of people aren't going to like me saying this, but it has to be said. It's almost never your side hustle that's flawed or doesn't work. You're most likely just not putting enough time and effort in. I know that can be hard to hear, but this isn't really your fault. It's down to something called shiny object syndrome. This is when you constantly jump from one trendy online money-making method to another without committing and putting your absolute all into any of them. One week it's drop shipping, then print on demand, then selling books on Amazon KDP, then trading stocks, and then starting a social media agency. The truth is, all the online money-making methods I just mentioned work, but each requires a different level of time commitment, and you'll never get anywhere by jumping from one to the other. It's like that classic diagram of miners tirelessly digging for gold, only to give up just before striking it rich. Instead of pushing through, they abandon their progress, start fresh somewhere else, and waste all that initial effort repeating the cycle over and over again. If you get stuck in this dangerous pattern like the 28% of other people, then you need to recognize it and simply pick a method and stick to it. Forget the idea of a perfect side hustle. Just pick one that's easy to start and has the potential to scale. If you don't have a high income skill to sell, then I'm going to make this super simple for you. In all my years of experience, the thing that has made me the most amount of money online is e-commerce. So I recommend you focus on that, but not in the way most people do. A lot of beginners assume starting an online store means dealing with inventory, suppliers, or complex setups, but that's not the case anymore. That's because you can now utilize AI-built Shopify stores. Instead of spending weeks setting everything up like I had to back in the day, you can now use a free tool called buildyourstore.ai to launch a fully automated store that would normally cost $200 to $300 to set up, but this does it for free in a matter of minutes. You just enter your name and email, pick a niche like fashion, tech or pets, and the AI chooses winning products, designs your store and makes it look professional from day one. If you want to go through this process completely for free, then just click the link in the description and it'll walk you through everything. From there, it syncs directly with Shopify, giving you exclusive access to a 3-month Shopify trial for only $1 per month. But what about making sales? Well, the biggest mistake people make with e-commerce is giving up too soon. Surprise. This is probably because they don't want to deal with inventory or fulfillment. That's why the free AI store builder also walks you through how to integrate a tool called AutoDS, which is kind of like the autopilot system on a plane. It imports trending products, updates pricing and images, and even ships orders orders directly to your customers. This means you don't have to touch inventory, package anything, or deal with supplier negotiations. You focus on driving traffic and making sales while the system handles the rest. Full disclosure, AutoDS are long-term supporters of this channel, but even if they weren't sponsoring this portion of the video, I'd still recommend them. You can easily create a buzz around your products by creating videos about them on TikTok for free. If you get 100k views and just 1% of the people go and buy your product for $10, then that's $10,000 in revenue. So if you're serious about breaking out of the failing side hustle trap, then choosing a simple automated model like this gives you the best chance at success. No more bouncing between business ideas, just commit, launch, and put in the work to scale it up. Stage 3 is running a successful side hustle. Believe it or not, only 16% of people who start making money online ever make more than $50 per month. The people in this percentile make anywhere from $51 on the low end all the way up to $10,000 a month. Of course, the higher end is what I'd consider actually successful. So what are these 16% of people doing differently, and how can you start applying it to yourself? Well, there's some clear things that I've noticed that separate the people who struggle from those who actually make money online. And to help you get there, I'm going to break them down into 4 key steps that you can follow. Step 1 is to stop trying to appeal to everyone. You might think casting a wide net will get you more sales, but in reality, it does the opposite. If you try to appeal to everyone, you'll appeal to no one. So before you even start promoting your store, grab a notepad or open your notes app and describe.
To get a 9-to-5 job, save your money, work until you're 65 and finally retire when you're too old to enjoy it. Luckily, one of the businessmen I looked up to explained it in a slightly different way. He said the word retirement should be replaced with the word freedom, because once you reach a tipping point when you have enough money to stop working, you have true freedom. Every day you can do exactly what you want, no questions asked. Maybe that's relaxing on a beach, sipping a pina colada, or building businesses that change the world like Elon Musk. When you have the ability to retire, it's entirely up to you how you spend your time. So on that note, today we're going to discuss the plan I use to reach my retirement goal in my late 20s, starting from $0. This may be a little extreme for some people, but that's just me. I'm either 100% in or I'm not in at all. Obviously, you can take this plan at your own pace, and who knows, maybe you'll even beat me. We'll get into all of this right after you hit that like button for the L-Tube algorithm, as it really helps push this video to more people. Also, make sure to subscribe if you want to grow your wealth. Phase 1 is all about your freedom figure. This is the target that you have to reach in order to have full control of your life. This is something you should know even if you've got $0 in the bank. If you don't know your freedom figure, then it's a bit like being blindfolded in a running race. You can't see where you're going, so you may end up putting all your efforts in going in the wrong direction, or even tripping up and falling flat on your face. The reality is there are 3 types of people in this world. There are doers, dreamers and drifters, otherwise known as the 3 Ds. Actually, thinking about it, when I was at school they gave me a cap with D on it. They must have known I was a doer. So let's start off with drifters. They go through life living paycheck to paycheck without any financial aims. They don't really see the point of saving or investing money, as retirement feels like it's not something a young person needs to be thinking about. Dreamers do have financial goals, but they don't have any plans in place to actually achieve them. So they will forever just stay dreams. And finally, doers. They have financial goals, but most importantly have a plan to reach them. And that's where your freedom figure comes in. This is a very individual thing, and it all depends on how much you want to pay yourself each year when you retire. There's actually a great way to figure this out, and it's called the times 25 rule. So let's firstly assume you want to make $50,000 per year without working. Secondly, we would need to multiply 50,000 by 25, which gives us $1.25 million. The idea is that you're able to withdraw 4% of this per year without ever running out of money, and you guessed it, 4% of $1.25 million is $50,000. $1.25 million? How am I ever going to get that in 7 years? This video's a lie! I know this may sound tough, especially if you're starting from $0, but it is possible. No one said it's going to be easy, but with the right approach, it can be done. I mean, if I can do it, then so can you. In the early stages of your retirement plan, the way you think about money is crucial. It's all about getting the right mindset in place. The key is to prioritize building wealth over cash flow. This is because building wealth is about locking your money away in assets that increase in value, whereas cash flow gives you more money flowing into your pocket. Now this may sound great, but it can lead to a variety of problems such as lifestyle inflation and sky-high taxes. Cash flow is extremely important, but more so later in life once you start to unwind. This is why whenever I made some extra cash when I was younger, I made sure to reinvest the majority of it. Of course, I get it, sometimes it can feel really nice to secure some profit and lock it away in your bank account. It can give you a false sense of security knowing you've got all your money sat in your account for whenever you need it. But the reality is you often don't need as much money as you think. Forming a habit of reinvesting your cash flow is absolutely essential when it comes to building wealth as fast as possible and hitting your freedom figure. Phase 2 is laying the foundations. This is kind of like building a house. You need to lay a solid foundation to ensure your house doesn't crumble at the first sign of an earthquake. Unfortunately, 70% of millennials now live paycheck to paycheck, which means they're building their lives on an unstable base, just like building a house on quicksand. If you find that unbelievable, then this is even more shocking. 40% of Americans with an income greater than $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. This just goes to show how important laying the foundations are, and even though it may seem simple, many people are failing at this phase. There are 4 stages I considered when I was in this phase during my early 20s. The first stage is paying off high interest debt. It's crucial to pay this off before you even consider investing your money, as high interest debt is holding you back. But saying this, it is very important to understand the difference between good debt and bad debt. Good debt is anything low interest that makes you money. For example, the mortgage on a rental property or low interest finance on a laptop to build an online business. Bad debt is high interest debt that doesn't make you any money. For example, shopping for clothes on buy it now, pay later, credit card debt, or even a typical bank loan. All of this debt needs paying off as soon as possible. I was in quite a lot of debt when I was 18, and in order to get out of it, I used the debt avalanche method, which involved making the minimum payments on all my high interest debt. Then I used any extra money to pay off the debt with the highest interest rate first, which was my store credit card at 32%. Crazy, I know. Signing up for that was a huge mistake, which I've talked about in some of my past videos. I then worked my way through the bad debt with the lowest interest rate, which was my car loan at around 15% at the time. Within a year, I'd managed to get everything paid off. The big lesson here is you can't invest to build wealth when being weighed down by bad debt. Stage 2 is putting aside an emergency fund. This is essential for your foundations, because if you start investing without an emergency fund, you might find a few months down the line you get into a spot of bother with an unexpected expense and no cash to pay for it. You will then have to pull your investments out to cover the expense, and then you'll miss out on the potential profits. Stage 3 is building a great credit score. A credit score is a bit like your resume. It follows you around in life, is regularly updated, and it helps lenders decide whether you're a worthy borrower. Having a good credit score is especially important if you ever want to get a loan in the future. For example, to buy your dream house. You just never know when you're going to need it. I should have actually started building my credit score a lot sooner than I did, because it's so easy to get started. All you need to do as soon as you turn 18 is get yourself a credit card. Start putting a few little expenses on it like gas and pay that baby off in full at the end of each and every month. This way you pay no interest and prove to the lenders that you're a reliable borrower. Stage 4 is reducing your tax liability. Every dollar you earn has hidden costs. Of all the expenses, however, taxes can sting the most and take the biggest bite out of your money. No one likes the tax man. The good news is that tax efficient accounts can minimize how much tax you have to pay and maximize your savings. In my early 20s, my income was really starting to get eaten up by taxes, so I started looking for the best ways to save as much as possible. I then discovered if I opened up a retirement account, then I could save money I hadn't paid tax on. This is known as a 401k in the USA and a SIP in the UK. Of course, I will eventually have to pay tax on this, but as I'll be older, I'll be in a much lower tax bracket because I'll be earning less, so hence I should save quite a lot of money. But I didn't stop there. I opened another account that allowed me to save money that I'd paid tax on, but in the future I wouldn't have to pay tax on my capital gains, or in other words, all the money that the money generated. This is called a Roth IRA in the USA and an ISA in the UK. I firmly believe that everyone should set up both of these accounts as soon as possible, as I know it really reduced my tax burden. So once you've built up these solid foundations, it's time to start expanding. Phase 3 is building multiple income streams. I like to think about it like this. Imagine Spider-Man is you, the platform is your life, and the skittle is your everyday job. If you get fired, guess what's happening? Now imagine this, Spider-Man is you, the platform's your life, but now you have multiple income streams. The stock market could crash, you could lose your job, or your side hustle could fail, but your life is supported by your other income streams. This makes it very hard for someone or something to come along and strike you out. A secure job is nowhere near as common as it once was, with the average person now working 12 jobs in a lifetime. There isn't one perfect solution for everyone, but something that has worked for me over the years is to pick side hustles that take advantage of my existing skills, as I don't have to learn something completely new. This will often end up being something you're passionate about as you develop the skills without even knowing it. Sometimes we can lean towards what will pay the most, but when looking to build long-term wealth, sustainability is important. So when waking up every morning, being passionate about your line of work is a great idea. As Richard Branson once told me over lunch, there is no greater thing you can do with your life and your work than follow your passions in a way that serves the world and you. Well, that's actually one of his most famous quotes, but he did say something along those lines. It was about 20 years ago, but one thing I do remember all the details about was the fantastic spaghetti bolognese made for me. There are many different side hustles you can start, such as affiliate marketing, e-commerce, becoming an influencer, drop shipping, and even good old-fashioned window cleaning, bin cleaning, driveway cleaning, photography, the list goes on. I'm going to be gifting her $1,000 as well as arming her with the knowledge she needs to take the plunge as a complete beginner investor so she can start her journey to becoming rich and financially free. There's an old saying, be the person you needed when you were younger, and that got me thinking, sometimes with investing, the hardest part is just making a start. So if you're thinking about investing but find the whole process a bit daunting, or have started and want to find out some more, then this is the video for you. We're going to be going through everything step by step, from personal finances and taxes to investment strategies and actually setting up the core account. So make sure to watch to the end so you don't miss out on some great investment knowledge. We'll get started as soon as you hit that like button for the LTube algorithm. So Laura, what do you think when I say the word investing?
I get a little bit scared. I know it's the way to go. I'd love to learn a bit more about it and put my money in the best place, but if I'm honest, I don't really know much at all.
Well, it's normal to be a little bit scared, that's for sure. Judging by our analytics, not many girls are that into investing. Why do you think that is?
I'm not really sure why that is, but I'd like to learn a bit about it and show that it's possible for anyone to do, use it as a way to get rich.
Well, it's not all about getting rich, it's more about building your long-term wealth, but we'll get into that later.
What? I was here to get rich.
I'll tell you what I can do. How about this? I'm going to give you $1,000 to invest in anything you like.
That sounds really good, thank you. Let's get going.
I think we should. Let's dive in. People always say to me that they'll get good at managing their finances when they earn more money. But the truth is, anyone can go broke, even celebrities. You know, take Michael Jackson, for example. He was the king of pop with an estimated estate value of over $236 million when he died, but he left debts of over $400 million. So Laura, how would you say your finances are at the moment?
I'd say they're okay. I don't look into them too much. If I want to go out for a meal with my friends, I'll spend the money. But I do try to save about half of what I earn. I just don't really tend to track it.
Okay, well, tracking is a really good idea, and it's really easy nowadays to track your money using some of the apps that are available, and by tracking it you'll tend to spend less, so that's always good. But do you have any credit card debt or anything like that?
I don't. I spend my money on my credit card, but then I do pay it off every month.
That's great. You've been watching the videos, haven't you?
Yes.
It's always best if you use your credit card because it'll help you build your credit score. And if you pay it off at the end of every month, you're going to pay no interest whatsoever. And it's a win-win.
Oh, okay. Okay, so why is building your credit score so important?
Well, at some point in the future, you're going to probably want to borrow, be that for a house or for a business. You never know what you want to borrow for. And if you've got a good credit score, it's going to cost you a lot less in interest fees, and you're going to find it easier to borrow in the first place. So that's why it's so important to build a good credit score.
Oh, okay.
Taxes are something we should all care about, as at the end of the day, why would you want to give away more of your hard-earned money than you absolutely need to? When it comes to investing, in most cases, you are required to pay taxes on the profits that you make. This is called capital gains tax, and it's between 10 and 20% depending on your income. It's really important to minimise the tax you pay in these areas, so you're able to invest more for your future. And there are two really simple ways that you can take action. Now, the first is to open up a tax advantaged account, and the second is to start some sort of side hustle or business so you can write off all your expenses.
Why is a side hustle a good thing to have?
Well, it's all about when you pay your tax. If you get paid $100, for example, from work and you want to go out for a nice meal, well, it's all well and good, but you've already paid your tax, haven't you? So if that's 20%, $20 is already gone. Now, with a side hustle, you get your $100 and you want to go out for a meal, you can go out for a meal and you can then write that off. So when you come to pay your tax, you've got less money to pay your tax on, so you get taxed less.
Is that like bad?
No, it's 100% allowed, because you're having a business dinner, you're talking business, and that business needs to be done over a dinner, so that is an allowed thing.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I have been thinking about doing a side hustle for a while now. I think that's always something I've wanted to do in the back of my mind, but I haven't actually got round to it. It's just deciding what I want to do. I've been thinking about a lot of things, like I love seeing how people can do like Gymshark modelling on the side and being a bit of an influencer. That sounds amazing to me.
It's extremely important to research any investment before throwing all your money in. So Laura, have you heard of any before, and is there anything you've invested in?
I haven't invested in anything. Obviously I hear a lot about like cryptocurrency and stocks and shares, but it's all like a completely different world to me and I don't know anything about it. But I know that my money isn't very good sitting in my bank account. I want to do something with it.
Well, your money sitting in your bank account is actually losing you money, because you're probably earning about 0.1% interest per year, and that literally is nothing. And with inflation at more than that, around about 2 to 3% a year, that's actually losing value year on year.
I think the thing that I was looking at doing is buying a buy-to-let or something.
Okay, well, we can discuss that and run through the main investments which are good for beginners in order of least to most risky, so you can then decide what you want to do with that $1,000 I gave you.
Oh wow, okay, so the less risky it is,
Generally the less reward,
okay,
but the higher risk.
the better the reward.
Now, an index fund, simply put, is a basket of stocks. So instead of buying hundreds of different stocks separately and having to manage them all at once, you can buy into a simple low-cost index fund.
Do you get to choose what stocks they are?
No, you don't get to choose what stocks they are, but you can choose from a lot of different index funds.
Oh, okay. And does it matter what country you invest in?
Back when I was younger, I might have gone for an index fund based in the UK. But of course, nowadays, with the invention of the internet, of course, these companies in America, they are absolutely global. So they're always looking for more growth, be it in China, Australia, wherever it happens to be. So by investing in these American companies, you've got a global player there, haven't you? And they're passively managed as well. So there's not a manager there, it's all done automatically. That's why the costs are so low.
If I invest all my money in like a risky one, could I then lose it all? And it sounds like a silly question, but could I lose more? Could I go in debt or something?
Well, when you invest, your capital is always at risk. You have to remember that, but hopefully over the long term it'll be good. Now, unless you leverage your money, you can't actually lose more than you invest. So if you invested, for example, $100, the most you can lose is $100. However, if you leverage your money and bought things on margin, then of course you could lose more than you actually invested.
Okay, what does leveraging your money mean?
Well, leveraging your money is when you borrow money against your investment, or it's also known as margin. So for example, if you invested in a share, say you wanted to buy $100 worth of shares, but they were offering you 2.5 margin, you could actually have another $250 to go with yours. So you'd actually have an investment of $350. Of course, then you could lose that whole $350. Next is investing in yourself with a side hustle or further education. This is a low risk because the power is in your hands. Starting a side hustle has limitless potential returns, which is exactly what you want when you're trying to build wealth. So does this sound like an option to you?
Yeah, it sounds really good to me. I like the idea of investing in myself, not just getting my nails done and eyelashes done, obviously, but doing things like university, but it's kind of, you don't see the return straight away.
So how have you found that coming from university into the workplace?
So I feel like just with my degree didn't get me a job. You have to have other employability skills as well, and a lot of places often want a lot of experience and a lot of time in things that I haven't had time to do. So I definitely see the value in investing in yourself and enhancing your skills to make you more employable.
You've also thought about and mentioned side hustles as well, so of course you can invest into that.
I do love photography, a bit of videography. My mum's friend had a wedding and she didn't have a photographer, so I hopped in last minute and managed to do that, do a bit of video as well.
And did you do that as a paid job?
I did it for a bottle of gin. So,
So you're cheap then, that's what you're saying, aren't you?
No, I did it for free.
Well, sometimes that can be a really good investment as well. When you do a job for free, you're building up a portfolio. And again, quite often you need to do 3 or 4 jobs to build that portfolio up. So when you do want to charge people, you can show them exactly how good you are. Next up, we've got individual stocks, which are a medium risk. An individual stock is investing into one specific company. For example, Amazon would be considered an individual stock. The returns can be higher as it brings more exposure to one investment, but stocks can go either way. So I only invest in individual stocks with high conviction.
So a stock with high conviction, does that mean that it's going to give you a big return and that's why you invest in those ones?
Well, what it means is that you've done your homework on the individual stock. You've looked into the fundamental analysis of the company and you can see that it should give you a high return over the long term.
So fundamental analysis, that sounds a little bit complicated.
Well, actually it's not complicated at all, and you can find out all this information on Yahoo Finance, and you can pull up the company you're interested in and look at their balance sheets and things like that, and their profit and loss and where the company is going. And also it's important to look at the leadership of the company as well.
Okay.
Next we come to real estate, and I'm putting this as high risk for beginners, as real estate often requires a mortgage, which can mean taking on quite a substantial amount of debt. However, real estate is a great way to accelerate wealth and often performs really well during inflation.
I've always looked at Airbnb and I'd love to do that kind of thing.
If you're looking to do Airbnb, you've really got to make sure that that property can stand on its own without that platform, because
A year during their careers. Well, according to a national study of millionaires by Ramsey Solutions, just 31%. What's even more shocking is that in the same study, it was revealed that 79% of millionaires didn't receive any inheritance at all from their parents or other family members. So what is it that us secret millionaires know that most people don't? And how can you become one of us? Well, there are 4 important questions you need to ask yourself. Once you can answer yes to these questions, you're on the right path to becoming a millionaire, even on a low salary. Let me explain. So, when it comes to your finances, there are only 2 levers that you have control over: your income and your expenses. This looks pretty simple, right? Well, the facts say the opposite, as more than half of Americans earning over $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck, as their expenses are just too high. It doesn't really matter if you're on a high or low salary, you just need to be able to work these levers correctly in order to create positive cash flow. Let's play a little game. Do you think an 18-year-old that has a positive cash flow of $250 per month will retire a millionaire? Yes, he'll actually be worth around $1.1 million. How about a 25-year-old with a positive cash flow of $500 a month? Yep, they would be worth even more at a whopping $1.3 million. Okay, here's the last one. A 50-year-old with a positive cash flow of $3,000 per month. Actually, no, they'd get very close, but they'll only make it to about $950,000. This shows why it's so important to start thinking about this stuff while you're young. These calculations were based on 3 different factors. 1, their positive cash flow is saved every month. 2, they get an average yearly return of 7% on their savings. Now, you won't get this from a savings account, but it is the average return of the S&P 500. We'll get into that later. And 3, they retire at 65 years old. So, what is the best lever to focus on to create positive cash flow? Well, let's first talk about your expenses. I know it's not sexy, but if you start using one of those money tracking apps, you'll probably be shocked at how many tiny payments are going out of your account each month. Just think about all those subscriptions you don't even use. Those alone may add up to over $30 a month. I'm not saying to cancel the stuff you actually use, just the things you don't really care about. One of the biggest financial burdens for most people is high interest debt, particularly credit card debt. It's crucial to eliminate this debt as soon as possible. Imagine if I told you you could invest and earn a return of 27% per year. You'd probably laugh at me, but credit card companies charge you this crazy interest rate year after year. So stop allowing them to drain your finances and start using credit cards to your advantage. Pay off your balance in full each and every month. Improve your credit score and earn points that can be redeemed for free flights. Most online gurus would stop there and not even talk about the other lever, but this one, this is my favorite. I've not always been the best at saving. I didn't go silly when I was younger, but I did have a pretty awesome life. I traveled the world, I learned to fly aeroplanes, raced cars, and provided a great life for my family. I can do this because I have a talent for effectively leveraging the income lever. I highly recommend that you also spend more time using this lever. Unlike counting the pennies, the potential to earn money is unlimited. Question 2. Do you split your income strategically? Did you know that a surprising 49% of people earning more than $100,000 a year have no money left at the end of each month? The truth is, building wealth has a huge component that most people are completely unaware of, and that's the income split strategy. This is how I suggest you split your main income source. For most people, this will be the money you earn from your job. Now, ideally, you want to be spending 50% on your basic needs. These are the things that are essential for your survival. And no, I don't mean your Netflix subscription. These expenses include housing, utilities, food, transportation, and healthcare. Obviously, these do depend on your personal circumstances. However, it's important to be very honest with this, as the only person you'll be cheating is yourself. Next, you want to be spending 30% on your wants. This includes things like eating out, getting the latest video games, and going to events with your friends. This is the category that most people don't limit, and this is a huge mistake. Even though I earn millions every single year, I still limit the percentage I spend on the stuff I want. I know that if I want more, then I need to make more and not use a higher percentage of my income on these things. That's because the most important part is the last 20%. This should be invested. I've heard others use the word save, but I have a real problem with that. Too many people save money to buy something like the latest iPhone or a vacation away with their friends. This isn't what this 20% is for. Investing is very different from saving because the goal is to buy assets that go up in value or generate passive income, or ideally both. This can include investing in skill development, stocks and shares, timepieces, and real estate. Using this method, it's very possible to turn a small salary into millions, but it can be incredibly slow. We're talking decades. That's why I think you should take things one step further and build an additional income stream by starting a side hustle. Starting a side hustle is powerful because once you have the right income split, you can invest or the excess money. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. It speeds everything up. If you invest this extra side hustle income and get an average annual return of 10%, then each dollar you earn now will be worth $4.45 in 15 years. It's truly the key to supercharging your earnings. So question 3, do you have a side hustle? But Mark, why should I have to start a side hustle when I already work a full-time job? My boss should just pay me more. Well, if you're earning a low salary, there are only a few reasons why this is the case. The first could be your job isn't perceived as valuable, and the second is